You are welcome here. And here is the Center for Spiritual Living, Midtown Atlanta. Although right now we're broadcasting strictly on the internet, but beginning in January, we'll come back together in person. Right now, I want to welcome you to this broadcast and to this opportunity to know something better for yourself, know something better about your world, and perhaps find some ideas that can apply to bringing about a greater life and a greater freedom for you. We are a community of people who are committed to living the science of mind, to living spiritual laws and spiritual principles. And we do this through teaching, through serving, through supporting one another as we go and as we grow. You are welcome because we know who you are. Yeah, we do. You may be sitting there at home alone in front of your TV or your computer, but we know who you are because you are an expression of the divine. The divine has shown up in everything that exists and is. It shows up in you, as you, and through you. Therefore, we know who you are. We know you are an expression of the divine, so we can say without hesitation that we honor you and we support you and we want to be available to you in any way that we can to provide support, to provide greater freedom, to provide good ideas as you go forward in your journey. We do that respectfully. We do that with love. So welcome. I'm glad you're with us. We often say as we begin that such is the nature of life, that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You're that opportunity. Who are your people? You know, when I was growing up, if you identified who you were, somebody asked, who are you? It wasn't just, who are you? They wanted to know, who are your people? So I was Bobby, son of Jack, and people knew me as that for a long time. Or Charlie Wilder's grandson, or Georgia Wilder's grandson, or Dottie's or all these kinds of connections. That wasn't just enough to say your name. People wanted to know what you were connected with. What's your connection in the community? Who's your family? And a lot of times there was a lot of immediate judgment made about who your family is. You know that. If you grew up in the South, you know that. And I suspect this happens in other parts of the world as well, not just down here. But it was certainly a big and strong part of identity, was identifying who we are part of. Who do we belong to? What is our group? What is our connection? Longing to belong. I always thought once I left home that difficulty I had with leaving and with feeling so like a fish out of water for a while was just because our family and all of those folks are so tight-knit. And even though for most of my life I didn't really quite feel like I belonged there, leaving it, the pull was intense. And for a long time, I didn't realize that it wasn't them doing it. For a long time, I thought they're just dragging me back, trying to, even though nobody said a word to me. It was all happening up here. So these pulls that we feel, this longing to belong, is a pull towards something because it is innate in us. It is our nature to be part of something bigger than we are. We're born in relationship. We're born from relationship. We're born out of this eons of birth after birth, generation after generation that you stand upon, that stands behind you. I mean, think about all of the mothers before you, all of the fathers who brought the mothers and came together and brought the beings into existence. That didn't stop because you were born. You just still have all of that connection. It's in your DNA, even it's in your structural makeup of your body. So there's this whole sense of pull toward that longing to belong, that wanting to belong. You know, and as we grow and as we change, we find different places where we belong and some places where we don't. And sometimes that longing is satisfied. And my experience has been that it's satisfied for a while in any kind of external physical group, whether it's it's a religious group or a spiritual group, or if it's a group of a political group or a town I live in. The first time I got off a plane, flying into California, when my feet hit the ground, I went, oh my God, I belong here. This is my place. And it was for a while. And then it wasn't anymore. And so I headed off to somewhere else I belonged, and somewhere else I belonged. And so what that affirmation that Lavi pointed to is so true. And that is that we really belong wherever we are. But we have to find that within us. We have to find that within us, not in the place, not in the outside. So who is your family? Who do you belong to? Who are your people? Well, we here at the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, I'll tell you who we are. You know, we're a group of people, a community of people, as Lava so beautifully shared, who really care for each other and love and support each other, and are wide open to loving and caring and supporting others as they come and participate with us. We are supporting and loving and sometimes challenging to one another, because we're moving towards becoming the greatest expression of our true selves that we can be and that we want to be. And sometimes that takes reminding and takes a little challenge here and there. See, we do this by teaching spiritual tools, by teaching this philosophy, this perpetual philosophy of oneness that, you know, is interesting. Over the eons of history, from the very earliest recorded history, there has been a teaching of oneness. And then it sort of goes underground for a while as the duality teachings take over. But it pops back up somewhere different, somewhere else. So it's always here. The oneness teaching is never lost. It's always here, and it's always moving through us, for us, as us. And so it is that reality and that truth that our community is all about. And one of the things we are really, one of our highest values is that we respect and honor each other as we are each on this path and our own various paths. And they're all characterized by freedom, joy, and love. So if any of that appeals to you, consider joining up with us, considering showing up. I'm not trying to get you to join something so we can take your money. I'm trying to get you to join in to a community that can support you and love you, and where you may be able to find that sense of belonging, where that longing may get helped, may get answered, may get fed for a short time, or maybe for a long time. Some people say, so who are you really? Well, read our statements. I've already offered that. We are a part of the larger group of New Thought, and we are a specific part of that group that is all about teaching oneness through the teachings of Ernest Holmes, through what we call the science of mind and or religious science. It gets called by both names or by each name. So the exciting part of that is that we take a kind of more narrowed, specific part of this whole New Thought teaching. New Thought is confusing to some people because it can be many different things. Many different groups fall under this umbrella. As a side, back in a center where I will not name, the county sheriff came in and started looking around our building, and brought a couple of deputies with him, and they were snooping around in the different corners. And so I came down to my office and downstairs and said, what are you doing? Why are you here? Can I help you? Well, we heard this was a New Thought Center. Not new thought, nude thought. Obviously, we straightened him out on that right away, because that ain't what we're about at all. We are a center that's about newness, new thinking, new ways of being, new ways of knowing. So here's an important idea. This is a spiritual idea, and it's part of this oneness teaching. And that is that this urge to connect, or as some call it, the urge to merge, is a part of your very nature. But where it gets misunderstood is in that it's an urge to give the connection, not to get the connection. You see, it's not like we have this part of us that's missing, and the only way to find it or to fill it up or become a whole person is to find that connection out there and bring it to us because we're missing some parts. Instead, it's the other way around. That desire to connect, that connection is already within you. And what we're just looking for as we walk through life is a place to put it, a place to give it. See, we connect where we choose to connect, where we decide to connect. Our world tells us that we're separate. Therefore, there's got to be something that's got to happen to connect us. New Thought teachings, oneness teachings, remind us that that's just not so. Science tells us it's not so. You breathe in air and you breathe out air, and you breathe in oxygen and you breathe out carbon dioxide, and you are in oneness with the plants around you, with the whole biosphere around you. You let go of cells and parts of your body you no longer need, and they float out into the air, and a man across the world or a woman across the world of any race, shape, or color can breathe that in and use it in their own bodies. And they don't do that consciously. That's all done by the subjective, subconscious mind, but it works. And your own mind will tell you that you're not alone, that you're not separate. Think about it. If you get still, well, easier, in front of the TV. Have you ever watched a commercial, especially this time of year, and you just find yourself tearing up because someone has done something really heartfelt and wonderful to somebody else? And even though you may know in the back of your mind what they're really trying to do is trick you into buying something you may or may not want, but it doesn't matter because you feel that connection. You feel that oneness with those people who are two-dimensional on the screen, who are actors even. Not even expressing their own real truth. But you still feel the oneness in that because those ideas are universal. Those feelings are universal. That sense of love and compassion and caring is universal. And you feel the connection with it. Not because you're missing it, but because it's alive in you. It's alive and well in you. That's beautiful. And then you find the place to put it. You find communities, you find causes, you find groups. Well, here's the thing. We always talk about tools, and this center is all about teaching. We're all about providing tools for greater living. So let me offer you some tools for connection. First thing, the most important thing with connection is you got to show up. If you want to connect with something, you got to show up. And that sounds obvious. And it is in some ways. And yet, I know that when I was first dealing with my own personal self in a way of really getting truthful with who and what I am, and was coming out as a gay man, and this is a long time ago, I walked back and forth past the entrance to a place where I knew there were going to be a support group for people like me who were just trying to figure out who in the heck we were and if this was really our reality or not. And I walked by it. I went over many times to attend a support group meeting there without going in. Couldn't do it. Well, once I finally sat down in a seat and I was sitting there, the person next to me said, "Can I get you a cup of coffee?" I burst into tears because it was a welcoming and a connecting that I was so hungry to do and to give. And that person provided me the opportunity to say, yes, I am connected with you by accepting your offer. I'm receiving, and in receiving, I'm giving you the chance to give. And when I'm giving you the chance to receive. And it just broke my life open. So show up. Second thing is keep breathing. You may show up at some places that are really scary that you really think are yours. I showed up at one place for a support group, in my early days of that same exploration. In way up in Detroit, I was there on a convention, and I went and found this thing out in the middle of what turned out to be a very rough neighborhood. And it didn't happen. It wasn't meeting. But I didn't care. I was going to show up regardless because I was ready to give that connection to that group. It turned out I came out of there and I was approached by a group of teenage boys who were acting pretty rough and tough. And something about it, though, I didn't feel afraid. I just felt confident that I was safe and supported. And so I started joking with them. They started threatening me. Give us your wallet. You don't want my wallet. I got nothing in it. I'm poor. And back and forth we went until finally one of them started to laugh. And then we all had a big laugh. And they said, you know what? We're going to stay here with you till the bus comes because you got no business out here in this neighborhood by yourself. And they did. And we chatted and we talked, and they were all between 13 and 16, and there were enough of them. They could have done some harm if that had been their decision, but instead we connected. So I got on the bus and went my way. So keep breathing when you show up and express. Say something. Reach out to someone. Show up. And then find a platform of agreement. First time I walked into a Science and Mind Center here in Atlanta was the first time I went into any of them. And when I sat there and listened, I was at the time working on a doctorate, and I was thinking, you know, I've been reaching for this something behind all of the stories. There's some kind of philosophy, some kind of truth behind the stories of Jesus, behind the stories of Buddha, behind the stories that we hear, and so many of it this holiday season. There was something there, and I knew it, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I walked into Religious Science Church and said, there it is. Holy Moses, it's been right here all along. And I found it, and I made the choice to keep breathing and stay there. Now, I came in late and exited early every week for a while until I finally got really comfortable being there and finally said something to someone. And at that point, began to really feel part of the whole thing. And it was a rich and powerful and beautiful experience. There's some spiritual practices with this as well. Meditation is one. If you're a meditator, you already know that when you get into that real deep meditative space, you are no longer within the boundaries of your body. You are connected with the energy of the one, the energy of the all that's all around you, the consciousness of the all. You feel it, you know it, you think it. Affirmations and prayer. That was a beautiful example that Lava gave of affirmative prayer that has an answer that shows up immediately when you take the steps to bring it about. Lava did her connection when she went to the Huddle House. She had stayed home thinking about how much she wanted to connect, and it never happened. Well, it might have. It might have been some other ways, but we won't go there. But what it amounts to is that she went and she took her part. She offered her connection. She affirmed that I'm safe and I'm okay to do this. So we teach spiritual mind treatment, which is a way of affirming and bringing ideas together in a way that convinces ourselves of the truth of what we desire, that we not only deserve it, but it is ours by right of consciousness. And it happens and it works, and people have all sorts of demonstrations. And that's how and where we go forward with this. The other spiritual practices are recognizing this perpetual philosophy that keeps showing up and showing up. Demonstrations that bring forth and come forth. Ernest Holmes has a quote. Can't do a talk without an Ernest Holmes quote. What would happen if we could convert the energy of fear into faith? The energy of doubt and uncertainty into a feeling of belonging to the universe and being safe in the universe. Wow, that was one of the great gifts of this teaching when I first came into it, because the world was not a safe place to me. And first through the 12 steps and then this teaching, the world became a safe place. The universe became a safe place. That's how I could talk to those 13 to 16-year-olds on a dark street in Detroit and feel okay. He goes on to say, feeling a belonging to the universe and being safe in it. Would not the original artist itself, God itself, go forth into this new creation through us? And that is what's happening, and that is what will continue to happen as we get safe and feel our connection and recognize by reaching out and connecting to the universe and to the people in it, certain people, peoples and groups where we feel safe and where it demonstrates our safety in the universe. Then we begin to know and experience and see it beginning to spread and happen throughout the world and throughout life. We move from possibility to reality. The possibility of a connection goes into becoming the reality of a connection. Again, we saw that in a lot of story. If you want to see another story of it, watch the movie again from 2006 of The Last Holiday. That wasn't written by religious scientists as far as I know, but it might as well have been. So if you want a refresher on how you demonstrate and manifest, she had a possibility book and transformed it into a reality book. So the beloved community, the community that we're talking about, the community right here that we are inviting you to participate in, and you already are just by listening. You've chosen to connect by being part of this broadcast, by being part of listening and hearing. And I'm inviting you to continue that connection as it continues to enlighten and lift you up towards the greater life that you believe, that you desire, and that you want to experience. I'd like to share in closing the poem that we show a part of at the beginning of our talk, at the beginning of our whole session here, that says this. And we speak it to everyone who's here, who's ever been here, and it is coming from the universal infinite itself. Peace be unto you, stranger. Enter and don't be afraid. I have left the gate open, and thou art welcome in my home. You're in my home right now. There's room in my house for you all. I have swept the hearth and lit the fire, and the room is warm and cheerful, and you will find comfort and rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before you. The wine is here also. It sparkles in the light. I have set a chair for you where the sunbeams dance through the shade, where you can have it all, sun and shade. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat the fruit, drink the wine. All is yours, and you are welcome. So says the word of light and life to you. You are welcome to this life at this time. I'm so glad you're here, because you're wonderful, and so am I, and so it is. Thank you.